What a week. Everybody's having a terrible week. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. If your camera's working, it'd be great to see your happy, smiley faces on this sunny Friday afternoon. Understand not everybody is able to. But the more faces, the better. So I don't have to look just at Luke. I see him all day, every day. It'd be nice to see some other faces. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Luke, thank you for joining us. Great to see you all. It's quite an intimate group today. Maybe because the sun is shining. People have opted to take their lunch. Camera enabled. Thank you for letting me know. There must be some setting when we set it up. Well, I wouldn't even know. Luke, there's a little job. Can you see if he's across the room from me? Can you see if there's a way to enable cameras? I'd love to see some more faces, especially Kamal's. You've come in through a different route, Kamal. So we can't see you right now. How are you, Kamal? You hear us? Maybe microphones. What have I done? Slightly muted. Right. Okay. 1 second. Let me. Oh my goodness. This sums up my week. This really does sum up my week. Give me 1 second. What can we do? Hang on. Okay. Allow mic. Hello, Kamal? No.
I'm free. I'm free.
Hello, one by one. I'm gonna allow mics and cameras. Kamal, how are you?
I am great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Good. Very stressed. It's been a bit of a stressful week. Sadly, Luke from Sony is not able to join us. He did give us advance notice, so it isn't that he's gone off to the beer garden because it's a sunny day. So yes, intimate group today. Thank you for those that haven't gone to the park to eat your Tesco meal deal. Great to have you here. So we probably won't be here for 45 minutes. If anybody does have any questions, please shout up. I tried to allow everybody's mics and cameras. I'm working through, but as I say, it does kind of sum up my week. I've had a bit of a 1 step forward, 3 steps back type week. But look, we're not here to talk about me or my work, my week. We're here to talk about work experience. Oh, we have a new face on there. Hi, great to see you. Hi. So we're here to talk about work experience. Before we do, Maret, would you like to give us a little brief overview of yourself and some of the experience you've had running work experience programs?
Yeah. Hi, guys. So just moving back a bit. I work for Double 11, which is an independent video game studio in the northeast of England. So you can imagine work experience has always been a huge challenge, particularly in our environment, of being able to give meaningful opportunities for young people to really experience what industry is about, and also to give them the ambition and the focus for them to then go back, re-engage back to education, and then to come in via the pathways that are there. So I've been running various programs for several years. The latest one is something what we're running called Schools to Careers. We're in the middle of transitioning it from that name to something more meaningful towards the games industry. But we've been piloting it for 3 years, so there's some really good things that I can talk about, some things that were quite challenging at the beginning, things that I've learned, things like that, and also how valuable it is to be a STEM ambassador and how that can help you as well in these sort of environments.
Amazing. I think you're going to have lots to share. Hi, Natalie, who's just joined us. Great to have you here as well. But our intimate, there we go. Hey, great to see you up there in Asda head office. Our little intimate group here on Friday. Kamal, tell us a little bit about yourself. Always so much energy.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've got the sun shining like I have. I'm Kamal. I am the founder of Aim a Little Higher. We are a company that specializes in helping young talent go from high potential to high performance. We're in a kind of unique position because we do work in education. So even today, we've got a session running down in Canterbury where we work with young people while they're still in education, and then also work with the corporate companies who have just had the young people come in. So we're in this really interesting position where we can see what's going on now and give them help, but we also know what's coming. So it's great to be able to talk to companies and get you prepared for the next load coming your way. Good luck, my friends. Good luck.
Super. You're on the front line with the talents of the future. It's amazing. So Luke, we've got some questions. We're going to throw them out there. Maret, Kamal, and anybody else, if you've got experience in these things, want to share, put your hand up, type in the notes, shout up. We're only a small group today. Don't be shy. One of the first things that came up here then. So it's talking about, the question is, if we're honest, how much of traditional work experience is genuinely meaningful against just observation? Okay. And I guess there's two things here. I've heard this from some people that we speak to, particularly around health and safety, compliance. How do people get a meaningful experience? And, you know, with the Gatsby benchmarks, meaningful is a really strong word that comes through there. How do we ensure that on a traditional, say, 5-day work experience? I mean, that aside, I looked after my godson last week and he did work experience. He was driving a boat. I'm like, that's the best work experience ever. But seriously, how, from anyone out here, Maret, obviously I'll come to you first, but how do we deliver meaningful work experience in a world tied up with compliance and health and safety?
Do you know what? It's a really good point, and something that I've had the pain of going through just recently, because we've gone from pilot into launching a twice-a-year scheme. So your priorities really is things like your safeguarding. So not just the young people, but the people who work there as well. So having that real strong fundamental understanding about what safeguarding is to the young person. You know, should they want to disclose something, for example, what's the right pathways? Do you have safeguarding officers already in the institutions that you work for, in the organisations? That's kind of the fundamental part of it, where the sort of the corporate bit that you need to come into. And the health and safety depends on actually what their experience is. So I think sometimes having good relationship with colleges and schools to understand what they mean by meaningful. Is it, do they want the hands-on where they're physically getting involved, following something? And are you an organisation that can provide that? That was a huge challenge for us, because as an industry, typically where everything's locked down with NDAs, and then in the majority of the time, even for graduate students who have come in and taken an industry year, they might be in a position where they can't talk about their work for 5 to 6 years, even longer. So, you know, we've got students now who've just been publishing things on their portfolio that have had to wait 5 years to be able to do so, because of the type of projects that the video games industry brings into. So when we talk about meaningful, is how can you take an element of a day-to-day job which gives a young person real strong insight and make it into some sort of project that they can touch and feel and see tangible results from? And that's the key thing for me about the meaningful piece. And for those who aren't familiar with Gatsby's, there's 6 frameworks within that, and the 3 for an industry person to be aware of is things like the number 3, which I can never remember them off the top of my head, but one of them is meaningful experiences for the young person. The other one is about employee. If I get these right, I'm good. Something about the employer, and again, that experience to the young person. And then the biggest key for me is if your young person understands it and has had a great experience, what is the fundamental understandings of the tutor? Because if they don't know it, it's lost in transition and it's not brought back into the education. So last year I did a huge piece where I brought in our business into the buy-in of having teacher encounter days, where we brought people right across the spectrum from primary to secondary to college students, teachers, all into our environment, and took them through the same experience what a young person would go through, so they can go away. And when that young person is going back fully engaged after they've had that experience at your workplace, they understand how to support that young person to get that next steps. Because what we were finding is a young person massively engaged, had a fantastic week. I want to be whatever, whether it's a games designer, whether it's an artist, whether it's a programmer, back into school, and very generalized statement would hit a barrier because the teacher wouldn't have the experience or the knowledge to support that young person further. And that's, you know, that's not because that person doesn't want to or there's not a will. It's mainly because they've got so many other things that they need to do in their own world. that element of it sometimes slips. So if we can engage them into what the steps are and how to support that young person, that massively helps for me. And I'm going to be quiet now.
I know, it's wonderful. Thank you. So if anybody wants to jump in, shout up, speak up. Come on, I almost see you as the voice of the young person. You're interacting with them much more. What kind of feedback do you get from the young people in terms of meaningful? How many of those that you work with really feel they get a meaningful work experience?
Very few. Very few. The vast majority, when you talk about work experience, it's something that they absolutely have to do. And there are a few people who really take it seriously because they see the opportunities that they get as sort of, do you remember back in the day how people looked at apprenticeships as if they weren't a very serious role where you were just carrying the tea? Well, apprenticeships have got much better, but work experience is now that new element where unless you know somebody personally who lands you a really cool one, you end up with the most random work experience opportunities. And so we've got a marketing problem on that side for the young people. And then on the flip side from the companies, it's actually, what are we doing to make sure that that's not the case when they get here? And it comes from a program design perspective for me, where if work experience is someone coming in and observing what already happens, that's not work experience. That's almost like advertising. It's, hey, here's an advert, here's what
ticking a box, right? Social. Luke, what is the phrase? I always get it the wrong way around. Sorry.
The tick boxing activities.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas if you do, and Maret touched on it, something project based, something that builds over
ESG, thanks,
those 5 days, that's a whole different experience. You come on day one. Is this industry for me? Is this company for me? I don't really know. But by day 5, you've achieved something real. Whether that's presenting a real project back, whether it's solving a real problem, whether it's playing a small part in something that goes on to be a bigger project, but it has to be real and tangible. So they come back from work experience going, oh, it was awesome. I had to pitch to the CEO, to the head of games design. I had to answer 3 customer complaints and 2 of them are really unhappy, but 1 I solved. Something real, they walk away and they've had a personal development experience as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So, I mean, that leads into another question here. It says, for organizations offering a full week of work experience, and I don't know how many still do that. We spoke to a company yesterday that are, I'm not sure we can say who they are, but they have got this most incredible, I wish they were on this call. They have this most incredible work experience program. So I've got a center set up for it. It's quite incredible. But for those that are doing 5 days, what was the question? How do you realistically structure 5 days so that the students do contribute and therefore what Kamal was saying, that they come away and have this? I don't know. Maret, I'm going to go back to you to start with. But again, anybody else that has got ideas and has experiences, please do shout up.
I think for us, we're a little bit unique. So I literally, I'm in a wonderful building that was built 2 years ago, and I was gifted a space. So my area, my team look after an area. We call it the classroom. I hate calling it that because then the kids come in and think they're in the classroom and they're not. It's just because it's an open area. But we make that literally into a studio, because the difficulty we've got is we can't let them have free reign around the building because lots of things are under concept. We've all heard the story about where there was a game about to release after 10 years worth of work, and a young person videoed it and released it, and it caused a nightmare. I would not have wanted to have been that parent, and it would have just been a split second mistake without the consequence thought. So we do a lot around protecting not only our IPs, the work that we're working on, the projects that we work with, but to give that young person that experience of having the structure is we do a 5-day program where we bring 10 individuals in. It's suddenly become quite competitive, which is what I never dreamed it to be, but I had 67 children apply for a place this year, and I've had a hard week of saying some hard no's, which has been awful because I wanted to say yes to everybody.
I mean, Maret, you're designing video games. It's a bit different than when I did work experience and got shoved in a tax office in Stoke-on-Trent.
Honestly, it's crazy. But they basically come come in and we give them the same experience as what they would have if they were working there. So they have a producer who comes in, and we have someone as a stakeholder who delivers the pitch. So they're asked to design their own game, and they're in the engine. That it's the realistic experience to the point where every year the kids just blow me away because they're asking for more things and more challenges. And I think young people now, and I think this links back very valuably to be, you know, we worry about what experience we're going to create for them. Ask what they want, because they're all critical thinkers these days. They're all already Googling. They probably know more about your business and your organization than what you think you do, to be honest, because they come in and one of the first questions is we ask them what games they're playing, what they're interested in, to just see what kind of person they are. And straight away they're like, oh, well, you guys make this game, but we're not keen on that. And I play this and I do that. And I'm like, wow, you know, they come in pre-armed. And I think that's that generation. I think, you know, they're very, very critical, and they're not shy to give the feedback, and I think that's a brilliant thing. I think we're generations where we would have been invited to the conversation. These generations aren't now, and I think that's something that companies should absolutely embrace, because they're the future. So we do it. They come in, they spend 5 days with us. Some, like you say, have a light bulb moment and go, yes, this is me, this is what I'm doing, what's my next steps, and then go on to do great things. We have other people have come in and said, oh, I did think I wanted to be a games designer. Actually, I really like the production side. I'm going to go and have a look and see what that leads me down the route of. And, you know, there's lots of different things, but always linking it back to something educational that young person can tangibly do something with helps. So on the last day we do a graduation, we kind of, it's fallen into a support mechanism for those who are in T levels. So without getting political around the education system, we all know the T level qualification is extremely difficult to support at the best of times. And sometimes young people don't have the opportunities. It could be lots of reasons of why they've not been able to gain that work experience element of that qualification. So this 35 hours of them doing the course that we do sometimes allows that young person to just gain that experience they've needed to get through to their next stage. So I think if you can link it back to the curriculum, and again, from a STEM side of things, or even from a STEAM, if you're not STEM and you're more STEAM orientated, the engineering element comes into it a little bit, then there's loads of ways that this can work for young people as well as yourselves. You know, we've had a student who came to us 2 years ago and just had the highest accolade at Teesside University for his first year achievements. He's going on to do great things. He'll be flying in 2 years. We've had students that have kind of took a whole different turn and have decided the, you know, games industry isn't for them because they've realized it's a really hard environment to get into, but they've gone into concept art, they've gone into different ways. And, you know, it's about that. It's about saying, okay, so you've learned something, you've took something away, and you've kind of developed, but having structure is really, really important on it as well.
But you touched on a couple of things, and it really leads into the next question and many other things. So about accessibility, right? You're a games design company. It's super exciting for young kids, right? So people that live in your area, that is wonderful for them, right? I grew up in a mining village on the outskirts of Stoke-on-Trent, right? I didn't have the accessibility to such a thing had I wanted. I actually did try to get to Manchester Airport, and that's why they stuck me in the tax office in Hanley. It put me off tax for life. But you know, you're kind of limited, or are you? And that's the next question. So this whole accessibility thing, whether that is geographical, whether that's socioeconomic, whether that is neurodivergent. Okay, we had a meeting this week with one of the career services here in London that do an amazing job, and they gave us some really shocking stats around how few, I can't remember the exact numbers, but how many actually leave school without any work experience. And often this is tied to a socioeconomic, that maybe they're a carer through neurodivergent, and it's those that have accessibility needs that are missing out on this. So the next question then is, what is being done, what can be done to address accessibility for those? And the question is, how well is current work experience actually serving accessibility, and what changes do we need to make to give greater opportunities?
Cam, do you want to lead on that one, and then I'll jump in?
Sure. Yeah, I was looking at what happens in a school when you're rural. So we've worked with some schools out in March, which is near Peterborough, also some schools dotted around the country. But March is a particular interesting case study because their bus system is terrible, where there's one in the morning, one late, and that's about it. So if you have a work experience opportunity, you actually can't get to Peterborough Town Centre on time, or you get there hours early and you've got parental concerns around hanging around Peterborough Town Centre. As a past Peterboroughan, I understand. So what we've been brought in to do is run work experience activities with young people in the school. And I think there's a genuine opportunity for a company to go, do you know what are the skills and outcomes that would be valuable for these young people that we'd give them here? How can we take that and bring it to them where they are? So they're still experiencing the same skills. They're still interacting with your staff in the room. You can maybe bring a couple of volunteers. They still produce some kind of project and outcome. They're off timetable. You could even say it's non-school uniform. So they have all those accessibility problems gone. They've got the support staff who are used to their particular styles of learning for those with additional learning difficulties, but they get something that's genuinely real, genuinely tangible. And I think it makes your company stand out even more because I worked with you, you came to us, and we got to spend sustained time with you working together. So I think there's like this real beautiful opportunity. I've done some projects like that where we've gone into schools with companies. And I remember even recently we had with Zero Gravity and HSBC in schools around Sheffield because they didn't realize the tech hub for HSBC in Europe is in Sheffield. But asked these kids, they were like, Sheffield's got nothing, it's rubbish. So we went into the schools, met loads of young people, and they've gone on to go and come back for insight days and things like that. So there's a real opportunity to overcome those challenges, but we as the outside companies have got to be mobile and make our way into the school where they are.
Yeah. Thank you. And Natalie, just jumping in there, really interesting point, because actually, again, I have too much to say on everything. This is a conversation we're working with a couple of companies who've asked us to develop something for this. So we're actually in the process of working with an engineering company and a retail company, incidentally, around a virtual experience. I have to put my hands up. 6 months ago, I couldn't quite get my head around virtual experience. But having spoken to some companies and a lot of these things that we've talked about, particularly the accessibility, I've had my light bulb moment. And so we're currently, developing something ourselves on this. And then we spoke to this careers company this week, and it kind of all came together. The actual question was it? Did we have something? It wasn't actually specifically about it. Has anybody had experience of virtual, and how effective are they? And are they, again, for me, anything that we do and work on and develop, I want to make sure it's not a tick box exercise. I say this all the time. Anyone that's had a meeting with me, I'm sure we've talked about tick box exercises and sheep dipping, things that I want to avoid. And I worry, we talked earlier about shadowing in a company, right? It's not meaningful. Does virtual work experience, how well does it work? And how do we ensure that it's not a tick box exercise that a company says, oh, we're providing this, it's a platform to advertise, but how do we make sure it's meaningful? I don't know, does anybody have any experience or comments on virtual work experience? Natalie, let's go for it. Is your mic enabled, or do I need to do it for you?
It is, no.
Oh, there we go. Nice to
Luke's
see
allowed
you.
me to talk.
Ah, thanks, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with SpringPod quite closely, and I guess it does exactly what the kind of question that you framed around reaching those hard to reach areas, but also gives us a really good opportunity to reach the masses, I suppose, because we have quite structured what we call meaningful engagements with young people, and it tends to be in specific areas where we can then funnel them into opportunities that we've got. So we tend to do a lot kind of in our areas around our home offices. So West Yorkshire being a good example of that, and we have close collaborative strategic relationships with schools and colleges within within those areas where we'll bring them in for meaningful relationships. But the virtual experience gives us an opportunity to kind of put something out there that's accessible to all. I think the really good thing about it from a business point of view is the data that we get back from doing that. So we get the insights around, who's accessing it, who's completing it, which parts they didn't find as exciting as others. We get kind of all the demographic information as well, so we can see actually who is interested in exploring a career in retail. I think the other thing that we get out of it is the assets as well that kind of go on to that, to go on to those portals. So all the filming and everything takes place, but there are also assets that we can then use internally, externally in their own right as well. So from that point of view, it gives us a really good suite of tools that we can go out with from a recruitment point of view as well. And
Nice.
update those resources really frequently as well, so we can make sure that things are relevant to different audiences. And if we've got new streams of work that are kind of coming in, new roles, kind of thinking about AI and how that's implicating kind of retail, we can update that content really frequently as well. So we've had a really positive experience with it. And from the young person's point of view, with SpringPod specifically, they get certification at the end of it as well. So there's kind of something in it for them as well. So a really positive experience from our point of view.
Excellent. Yeah, that's it. The best talent could be in Yorkshire, but it could be on a remote island in the north of Scotland, right? And you're engaging with others, with those at a young age. It's fantastic. Kamal, have you worked with anyone doing this, or any students that have experienced this?
Virtual has, from what we're hearing, gone on a similar journey of originally a bit awkward, unsure how this really works. What am I actually doing here? And then, of course, the assumption that everyone has access to laptop and internet, like we saw during COVID. Hey, everyone, just go home, it'll be fine. So we're moving in the right direction. And I think where we've sort of had interactions with it is like coming in and doing something virtual to boost it, liven it, and then they crack on with what they're doing. And it seems like bringing them together at the beginning to all be on this virtual journey together, though they're alone. Hey, it's not just me and the managers, it's me and 6 others, 12 others, 15 others, whatever the suitable number is, creates that sort of cohort community feeling. Then they go off to do the individual tasks. They can come back as a cohort sort of, day 1, day 3, day 5. And that allows you to build the camaraderie that you kind of miss when you go into this virtual situation. But they also have their individual track, which is good for that person, which also it's Gatsby benchmark 3 would be that one, addressing the needs of the pupils.
Fantastic. Awesome. Maret, is there anything that you've done around virtual, or is there still something
Virtual's a funny one. It's something we've explored doing. Demographically wise, because we're in Teesside and we fall in quite a poor socioeconomic area. I think 2 in 4 children are classed as household and poverties. And a recent study that I did with a local school showed that children believe their end destination point was 19, and that is really devastating when I've got a 23-year-old son, to think that they don't see past the age of 19 in their area. So that definitely gave me a bit of fire in my belly about making sure that these experiences were tangible. So from that aspect, I moved slightly away from the remote side of things, because I think sometimes children are isolated already and they spend a big portion of their time in that virtual space. Something that we did do, and I know we're going to touch on the send bit, so I'm probably bring it into the conversation a bit later, was about how you bring different groups of children together and make the opportunities equal. So as you can imagine, games industry does have a lot of neurodivergent colleagues and members within that area, and the same for children. They have that interest. So it's, part of the reasons why we're doing shortlist now isn't to look for the golden nugget talent. It's about how do we best support young people. So whether they come in with like an educational plan, or whether it's a case of they might have just anxiety, or whatever their reasons is, we can support around that. And that's one of the reasons why my cohorts are so small as well, because I don't want that to be a great big en masse recruitment. I want it to be quite a meaningful piece that these young people find their people, which I know is odd words, but that's words that we've heard over and over again over the last 3 years of taking children through. They've come in and went, I found my people. I found the children I want to associate with. I've had them go off to university together and live in halls, which is the most surreal thing. Completely different strangers, one from Newcastle and actually one from Leeds, both travelling up because their parents had said, yeah, we'll come up and make this a holiday. So it becomes quite a big thing. And then finding their people was just a lovely thing. And it's kind of every year I wait for that golden nugget to drop when one of them says, I found my people. And I'm like, oh, just turn
Kamal,
into like a mum.
I love that. I love that. Kamal, you say that's something you've experienced or you hear?
Oh, it's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing. Especially with school fascinates me because as adults, we'll all sit down and go, oh, the system doesn't quite work, does it? We need to make some change. And then we put students through it and nothing changes. And then they get out and go, oh, I changed this. So work experience is like this unique moment where you can take them out of this environment that might not be working ideally for them, put them into a place where they can feel useful, feel really passionate about something, especially getting something niche like gaming, which is just, it blows my mind. It's exciting already. And then they find other people who share those same passions and they get to do tasks, do projects and be useful with. Like you really do build a sense of, these are my people. There's no acting and pretending here. I can just be myself. And then I think just as a company, giving that student that opportunity to just be, I think will stand you in such amazing stead for the future. It's when you get those people who just love the company they work for, that can start early as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had a young boy yesterday came in for an interview and he was just lovely. And his first words were, because our building's absolutely brand new, it's an amazing building, and he came and he said, I'm so excited. He said, I did this as a project at school and I had a hard hat and it was just a pile of bricks. And he went, and it's always been my dream to just even come in the building. And he went, so to think I'm coming here to maybe do work experience, he said, just blows my mind. And I was just like, oh, he was just such a lovely young person and really passionate and, you know, and just absolutely deserved his place because, you know, every organization has its values and you forget that a young person doesn't come with your set of values. When you go out to actively recruit someone, you're looking for someone to fit within the realms of the values of the organization and then bring their best version of themselves along with that journey. When you're bringing a young person in, they don't know any of that. So you're naturally looking for someone who's curious, who sits some of the values. So the values can be like things like you're looking for them to be kind, you're looking for them to have empathy towards their other colleagues that they're going to be working with. So when they're working on projects, and we deliberately put them in positions where they're going to have to reach out for help because we're not going to be spoon feeding them, because in the real world, you don't come to your work experience or you don't come to work with your best friends straight away. You might make best friends along the journey, but you don't come on that initial first day. So you've got to kind of do a little bit of networking. And for young people, that's not always a natural thing for them, especially if they've been a bedroom gamer or they've been, and I'm really conscious I'm using a lot of game sort of terms and things, but you know, they've lived in that environment, so they're coming out of that shell and they're learning so many things along the way. So it's really important that we support that as well and embrace them to bring the best versions of themselves and their personalities along as well as they come into it.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so I kind of went off on a tangent when I started about accessibility, but to bring you back down, I think, Maret, is there more you experience or you want to share specifically relating to SEN, neurodivergence?
Yes, there was a project we did last year, and it started off just as a let's suck it and see how it goes. So we have a couple of hospital schools in our area, and I'm fairly sure they'll be in your regions as well. And we also have a discovery school, which is schools for specifically children whose chronological age don't match their academic age. It's the simplest way I can put it. And what we did was working with the local college. The college have an enrichment program, which means young people sign up to that to do work with like what Kamal do. So that's boosting your confidence. It might be helping your network. It could be lots of reasons why you sign up to be part of that enrichment program. And what we did is we took the group of enrichment students to come into the discovery school and work with these children with set projects on a quarterly basis because the academic structure changed. So it was it was a case of taking students who were really good with technology and were doing and learning their skills on a college day-to-day basis, and then going into the Discovery School to support children who are just turning out what technology can do for them, whether that's a code club. So we did the first quarter of the year, we did a code club. So they went in and did basic coding, they did Scratch, they did the coolest thing, which I really got so excited about, which is where they sent a piece of code and it went up to the astronaut and the astronaut sent something back, and I was like, that's amazing, I so want to be involved in that. So we were linking it to some of the STEM things, and then it kind of grew into like, okay, well actually we've got a green room at the college where they can go in and make, you know, TV adverts and all sorts. So we kind of transported that to the school, and then we realized actually this could be meaningful work experience for these children in the SEND environment who wouldn't normally get it. So they had the opportunities to come to the college. And this grew to the point where just by chance, the permanent secretary of state, just do a bit name dropping, permanent secretary of state came up north last month, and the CEC, which is the Careers and Enterprise Company, said, hey, can you show us what we've been doing? And naively and foolishly, because I can't say no to things, I was like, yeah, we'll do a workshop. Every man and his dog rocked up, joined in, and it's grown. And now it's becoming a model that we're going to try and send out across the country about creating this meaningful opportunities. But the important message that I wanted to take away was removing bias, helping two completely different groups of children from absolute different poles of their demographics to be able to come together and just have that empowerment to build friendships, to build confidence, to be able to communicate, to develop skills in a really natural way without it being forced. And the fact that these young people now are like, they now drive what that agenda is for those children to work together. So they've gone on to do video club where they've been making short videos. They've done stopgap animation. They just, every time I speak to them, like, oh, we're doing this next term, and you know, and it just has grown into this lovely thing that doesn't have to be the constraints. It doesn't have to be in my building. It doesn't have to be in a college. It doesn't have to be in their school. And something we're exploring now is similar to Kamal. What Kamal was saying is, could we take over a classroom and convert that into some sort of where they come in on a Monday and they walk through that door and it's an office or it's a game studio, whatever the environment is? Can that be done? So it removes the limitations of children's not being able to come out. You know, if you're going into a hospital school, it could be because they've got medical conditions or they might have devices that aren't transportable. So how do we support that young person to be able to still have their meaningful experiences while they're going through a difficult transition and point in time? And there's lots of ways we can do that. It's just about sitting down and being creative and having brave conversations internally with your organization to say, hey, I've got this, I think we could do this. Have we got the time and the capacity to do it? Because sometimes that's what it comes down to as well, doesn't it? Is we have the great ideas, but the business might not be able to support for various reasons.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like they're doing wonderful things up there. We're down to our last 5 minutes. That's flown so quickly, and some really interesting things. So thank you for everyone that's sharing. If anyone's got any final questions or thoughts, thank you, Kamal, for the Gatsby. If anyone's got any final thoughts or questions, anything they want to speak up, speak now, or if you want to get out and enjoy the last 5 minutes of sun. Sarah Jane, hiya.
Hello, hi. I'm SJ. You can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Great. I'm allowed to speak. Thank you for that, Adam. Appreciate it. Appreciate being invited. So shout out, thanks, Luke. I appreciate being able to connect with you all. I just wanted to thank you all for sharing. I didn't really know kind of what I was stepping into, I'll say, when I kind of signed up for the call, but I work for MasterCard, and I get what we do is worlds away from some of the incredible things that you are all talking about in terms of supporting young people. If you think about, you know, every element of corporate internship and graduate program with a big American flag all over it, that is pretty much, you know, what we do. I'm incredibly fortunate to have an incredible team across the region and really want to try to implement some fantastic programs beyond just those two kind of stereotypical frameworks that we currently have. I think some of, you know, if we think about what work experience looks for us right now, it's the senior vice president saying, hey, my 15-year-old son who goes to a fantastic school needs some experience. So I just need, you know, I work here, so we need to get him some. And that I find incredibly frustrating, to have some of those conversations, because there are so many incredible things that we could do for people that don't get those opportunities. So yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing. I will no doubt have some questions, and if it's okay to connect with you all to find out a little bit more. I mean, MasterCard is definitely not as exciting as some of the gaming stuff that you're talking about. But, you know, I'm sure I could come up with something. You know, we do some cool stuff around, you know, payments in space. So I'm sure there'll be something that will interest someone. But yeah, just appreciate it. So thank you.
Ah, thanks,
Cool.
SJ.
Oh, link in with me, Sarah Jane. I'm on LinkedIn, and then we can always pick up after and we can go through stuff, because I've got a banking background. I worked for Barclaycard for many years.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we've got a little bit of synergy there.
We're
You found your
connected.
people. You found your people.
Absolutely.
Hey, I love it. This is what this is all about. And also the group, you know, and that's why I think why everyone's here. Luke does an amazing job with the Early Careers Development Network and bringing everybody together. We've almost hit 1,000 members of that group, and love watching it grow and starting to see more and more interactions on there. Use it. That's what it's for. Throw ideas, throw questions out there. I can't thank you enough, say, for spending maybe the hottest lunchtime of the year so far to join us. I do appreciate it. Everyone's input. Kamal and Maret, also obviously Natalie and Sarah Jane, and everyone else that's joined us on here. Kamal, any final words before we log off? We've got about 2 minutes.
Just please don't overlook the opportunity and the ripples of a good work experience. Yes, from a company standpoint, it's the real start of a pipeline. You get them before they're flooded with options, when they're uni age or when they're looking for their first apprenticeship out of school, and you're competing with everybody. Help them while they're young, and they'll remember it. And also, even those who don't end up with you, you can really leave some seeds that grow into amazing fruits in their lives in the future. So both from a genuine impact we've seen, thank you and keep doing it, and also from a company point of view, it's not just CSR, there is real pipeline opportunity there.
Kamal and Maret, thank you very much. I mean, some amazing projects that you've worked on. Thank you for sharing. So if everybody goes away from here with just one thought from that, my thought is my godson who was on the boat. He lives in Teesside. He should come and do work experience with you. Although he wants to be a nuclear scientist, apparently.
Oh my days. Well, there's enough of that goes on our doorstep, isn't there?
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time, being part of the group and the community that we're building here. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you all have the sun. Keep doing amazing things, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye. 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 Bye.